Okay, so this is the reality of what is happening here in the land of Israel. And this is the reality of the world that's trying to negotiate with these crazy people.
Now, how evil can that be? And who's funding this?
This guy committed 2 terrorist attacks about a month ago or so, killed an Israeli soldier, and already a question about calculating the distance from his home to Ma'ale Adumim is on a math test in a Palestinian school. Hello and welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of anti-Israel propaganda and Jew hatred, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Happy to be back with you guys. We're here on the Mount of Blessing in the biblical heartland of Israel. Today we're going to talk about a story that you may have heard about in the news. You may have heard about it here on the Israel Guys, but we're going to bring a different side to the story that was so squashed by the media that I didn't even find out about it until this week. And I looked up about 10 different news articles. Only one of them barely mentioned this side of the story. Go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Give us a follow on social media, especially Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at The Israel Guys, and upcoming volunteer trips to Israel. The next one is in January, February, and March. I should say one, but we have different trip variations inside of those months. It's a winter trip, all for the men. So fathers and sons, brothers and brothers, friends, whatever it is, come to the pruning trip. We're going to be pruning the vineyards here in the mountains of Israel. It's cold, it's wet, it's hard work, and we need some strong men to come to Israel this winter. Spend some time in the land of Israel, experiencing the land and people, and get to serve while you're here. So go to serveisrael.com, check out the pruning trips, as well as all of the other trips that we have planned for 2023. So the story is that on October 29th, a Hamas-affiliated terrorist, I'm not going to say his name. I'm just trying to start that practice, because if you're a terrorist who murdered a Jew, you don't deserve to have any attention brought to you, especially not even by mentioning your name. So a Hamas-affiliated terrorist went to Kiryat Arba, which is the Jewish community right next to Hebron, and opened fire on Jewish residents there. A man named Ronen Hanania, who is almost 50 years old, was inside an Arab-owned store with his son, and he was shot in the head and killed. 3 other people, including his son, were injured before the terrorist was taken out by the local security. But there's a part of this story that I just heard while I was out jogging this week. Shout out to Yishai Fleischer and the Yishai Fleischer podcast. Heard him mention this story because he's from that area. He's the international spokesman for Hebron. So I knew the people involved in this terrorist attack. So he had an inside story. What's so interesting is, yes, this was a Hamas terrorist who hated Jews and who's part of his life mission. If he was actually Hamas, then part of his life mission was definitely to take out Jews. But there was something else that happened. The same week that he carried out his terrorist attack, he found out that he had terminal cancer and possibly days or maybe at the most weeks left to live. Now, if you're a Hamas-affiliated terrorist, you find out that you have a terminal disease, you might only have days to live. What are you going to do? Well, maybe you want to take out a life insurance policy. Except this life insurance policy is unlike any that you've ever heard of or what you might be familiar with if you have a life insurance policy for your family in America. It's nothing like that. Because if you go and you kill a Jew in the land of Israel, then you have effectively just put in a life insurance policy for your family to be taken care of for the rest of their lives. This terrorist, his brother, was serving a life sentence in Israeli prisons. He was released and transferred to the Gaza Strip, basically banned to the Gaza Strip under the Gilad Shalit deal. To provide a little bit of context, there's this Arab store right next to Kiryat Arba, right next to Hebron, and a lot of the Jewish residents there shop in this Arab store. There was multiple people in the store at the time. Ronen Hanania was inside shopping with his son. They came back out, about to get in the car. That's when this Hamas terrorist came up, opened fire with his, I believe, AK-47. And the reality is that the terrorist was there not only to kill Jews, but to make sure that his family was taken care of, because he knew that he was going to die soon, and he wanted to leave a legacy, because now he'll be considered a hero. He'll be considered a martyr. He'll be in Islam, he'll receive great honor, but then his family will also receive actual money from the Palestinian Authority, which is money that actually comes from the United States, European Union, and many other countries around the world for every single month for the rest of their lives. Now, I do want to mention that, amazingly, there was several other people injured in this attack. One of them was one of the Palestinian Arabs that was there at the store. But during the attack, the father and son ran back inside the store. They were hidden by the Arab store owners. They were treated with first aid right there, and they were very much they were protecting them, more or less. So there are good Arabs out there, and that's the reason why Jewish people felt safe to shop at this store until a crazy terrorist showed up. Now, how much will his family actually receive? Well, the Palestinian Authority has an official system for calculating how much a terrorist will receive in monthly payments. If you injure a Jew, murder a Jew, or murder more than one Jew, according to the official chart, if the terrorist died while killing a Jew, the family will immediately receive a payout of $1,700. And then they automatically start getting a base payment of about $400 per month, plus $115 per wife. I don't know if you have more than one wife, maybe you get that much for every wife. That's beside the point. And then you get another $60 per child, and basically you're taken care of by the Palestinian Authority government. And as a reminder, if you happen to kill a Jew and you receive a sentence in Israeli prison, if you don't die, you're going to receive way more, $3,500 a month if you get a 30-plus year sentence. And then you also get additional amounts for your wife and each child. When you get out of prison, you automatically receive a job with the Palestinian Authority government. The terrorist and his family will receive full health care and benefits. They even receive Social Security for the amount of time that they spent in prison for killing a Jew. Okay, so this is the reality of what is happening here in the land of Israel, and this is the reality of the world that's trying to negotiate with these crazy people. It's not just lone wolf attacks. It's not just lone wolf terrorists. It's the Palestinian Authority incentivizing, basically handing out life insurance policies to people that go and kill Jews. And we're going to talk about it in the end of the show, but these are the people that the U.S. ambassador to Israel is not just refusing to condemn, but he's actually instead condemning Israel for even thinking about wanting to hang on to their territory in these places.
Luke, and I think the big question that we have right now is how are they getting this kind of funding to do these kind of atrocious things? I mean, this is a really large question on the table that we really have to cover. Where are the funding coming from for such an audacious evil act on the world scene today? Every news report that's going out in the world is talking about the Palestinians. They're talking about these people, but they don't know what you just told them. The fact that there's Palestinians that are literally going to kill people. Maybe he didn't even maybe he wasn't even such a really horrible guy. Maybe he was just like, this is just what I got to do because I want my family to be okay when I live. He probably didn't have a good job security. Probably didn't have a good retirement. You're narrowing it down to you're making people, if they want to live well in the Palestinian life, you want to leave your children with something, kill a Jew, and then you're set. Now, how evil can that be? And who's funding this? Who's funding this operation we call it pay to slay? That's what it's called in the big world. It's called pay to slay. And this is what the Palestinian government's doing. All this in just a minute. Luke.
No, I just want to bring up one other thing that's happening in Palestinian schools right now, because I really want to drive home who the Palestinian Authority is and what's happening on a government level for these people that are demanding their own state, and the United States official position is to give them their own state, okay? These are who these people are. Palestinian Media Watch reported this week that students in a Palestinian school that recently received a question on their math physics tests, okay? They were asked to calculate the, quote, path of the martyr from his home to his attack. But they're not just talking about a generic terrorist martyr. They're specifically talking about the murderer who killed 18-year-old female Israeli soldier Sergeant Noah Lazar and later attacked and wounded another security guard at a checkpoint before he was killed. This guy committed 2 terrorist attacks about a month ago or so, killed an Israeli soldier, and already a question about calculating the distance from his home to Ma'ale Adumim is on a math test in a Palestinian school, okay? This is actual curriculum that's being taught. Now, we are going to talk about all of the money coming in, as well as the U.S. ambassador to Israel's crazy remarks to Israel this week. But first, you guys know that a lot of our show is focused on, and our studio is in Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland of Israel. The world calls it the West Bank. They try to deny the Jewish identity of this place. The international community wants to hand over the most holy places on earth for the creation of a Palestinian state, and they want you to boycott Israeli products from this place right here, so that it weakens Israel. And that's why our friends at Blessed by Israel have come up with the Heartland Challenge to encourage people, supporters of Israel all around the world, to commit to using certain products only from Judea and Samaria. Well, you might ask, how do I get a product from Judea and Samaria if I'm sitting in the United States? Well, good question. If you go to blessedbuyisrael.com, you can get products that are made by small, family-owned Jewish businesses in Judea and Samaria. Order them right on their website and have them shipped straight to your front door. We're talking about olive oil, tea, honey, ceramics, jewelry. They even have chocolate from the Hebron area in stock right now, and I think they're even getting more. Blessed by Israel is encouraging everyone to buy what you believe in and then share the message with your community and friends. It's time to invest in the heartland. You know, U.S. Ambassador to Israel says, no, Israel, you can't have the heartland. The world says, no, we have to give it to a Palestinian state. You can strengthen the heartland by buying products from Judea and Samaria. And you can go to blessedbuyisrael.com. Click the link down in the description below. Use the code INVEST at checkout. You get $5 off your first order. Go order some products from Judea and Samaria. Have them shipped straight to your front door at blessedbuyisrael.com. Click the link down in the description below. One other quick thing, because it popped up in the news, is that in the meantime, another terrorist who committed horrific mass murdering terrorist attacks, a senior terrorist from Hamas, he just completed another degree while sitting in an Israeli prison. He's serving 35 life sentences, plus an additional 50 years. A life sentence for every Jew that he killed. Yes, he masterminded the suicide terrorist attack at the Park Hotel in Netanya in 2002, which people were celebrating the Passover Seder. Killed 30 people and injured 160. He also masterminded the 2001 Sharon shopping mall terror attack, in which 5 people were murdered and 86 were wounded. Serving 35 life sentences plus another 50 years, but he's sitting in an Israeli prison just getting degree after degree after degree. Because why not? Benefits, you know, and his family in the meanwhile is being taken care of, receiving more than $3,500 every single month from his own government.
You know, Luke, the question now stands is his own government really the ones giving the money? Or is this actually an international driven motivation that the nations around the world are just infatuated with this bloody gang, really, that's trying to harm Israel? And that's what's really happening. Jared Kushner, I'll quote Jared Kushner here quickly. They've gotten, he's talking about the Palestinians, quote, they've gotten more aid than any group of people in history. What we have to show for it is really not much at this point, unfortunately, end quote. That's Jared Kushner saying more aid has gone to the Palestinians than any other people group in history. Now, I want to look at the aid. Now, what kind of aid are we talking about? From 1994 to 2020, $40 billion went into the Palestinian COG, that group of Palestinians. It's like a mafia group, really, that we've just outlined. If you've got a part of your charter is how to kill people and how much money you're going to get when you kill people, you're not on the level of any kind of nationhood. Drop it. Forget that. That's impossible. You're not on a nation, and the UN and all these groups that are talking about how you need to be a nation. That's ridiculous. You're a gang that needs to be treated like a gang and stop interfering in these international concepts of coming in and trying to make everybody think that you're some sort of international body that needs to be recognized as a nation. No, you still have on your charts talking about the Palestinian Authority how to kill Jews and how much money you're going to get. Now, that doesn't faze the world. I'll just outline to you quickly. The nations are undeterred. That's not a problem for them. For the nations. We'll talk about the United States in depth in just a moment. But the bulk of the aid, nearly 72% of the $40 billion given from 1994, marking the just as the Oslo Accords were signed and sealed, to 2020, $40 billion. This $40 billion, 72% of it came from just 10 donor nations, right? Or let's say 10 donors. Not all of them are nations. The European Union topped it off. The European Union is the #1 sponsor of the PA in the big world. Now, second to it is the United States, Saudi Arabia, third, and on down, Germany, United Arab Emirates, Norway, United Kingdom, the World Bank, and Japan and France. That's your top 10 donors. Now, 72%, by the way, coming from those countries. And let me tell you this, all of them are driven with the desire to help implement the two-state solution. That's what they want. They're thinking they're going to implement a two-state solution. Remember, 22 Arab nations is not enough. We need 23 Arab nations, and the world thinks that the best thing to do is grab this big conglomerate Arab cog that they've all gathered from all these Arab nations. They haven't been here for that long. You guys know that. They all came from Arab nations all around Israel because they saw prosperity here. Even as early as 1948, they all flocked here. Jews were coming. There was a lot of opportunity. Finance was coming. Jewish people brought industry with them. This was going to be incredible. They were going to be a part of it, and that's why they're here. Don't forget that. They're not here for millions, and everybody likes to say they've been here since whatever. No, not at all. They've not been here for thousands of years. Not happening. Now, these nations that are giving, I want to give now a breakdown for the Americans. We cut off support to this Palestinian mafia. Can we just say that, Luke? Can we stop calling it, like, when we say things, we needed to say it how it actually is. Like I said, if you're paying people to kill people, you're part of a mafia. So the 10 nations we just mentioned are now all a part of the Palestinian mafia group and supporting the mafia to kill Jews. If you're part of any of the nations I just mentioned, we've got work to do. We've got to stop this. Got to stop this. Joe Biden, when he came to visit earlier this spring of this year, he reinstated the $250 million a year that should go to the PA. He also gave an additional, right? He reinstated, I assume, what Obama started earlier on. It's been kind of a United States president's kind of thing of being a part of a two-state solution kind of ideology. So he supported it again and said, we're going to help the Palestinian mafia with another $250 million. And then Joe Biden said, on top of that, additionally, we're going to give another $316 million when he came and visited. And then on top of that, so he reinstated the $250 million, gave $316 million. And on top of that, he says, I want to give another multi-year contribution of $100 million for Arab infrastructure in East Jerusalem. Now, I know all this money is going to be going to terrorism, going straight into the terror infrastructure group, right? $100 million of infrastructure in East Jerusalem. Now, guys, that's politically loaded. You're talking about he's signing what he wants to see happen in East Jerusalem. He's saying East Jerusalem should be the Arab capital, right? Forget the Jews and their eternal capital, Jerusalem. He wants to divide Jerusalem and create an Arab state, another one, remember, and their capital will also be in Jerusalem. And they're going to divide the city. Now, how I don't know, you just say, how satanic is that, right? Divide the holy city of Jerusalem? Impossible. Now, enough about the big money. What is actually going on with it? Well, we know they're doing the pay to slay, right? You know the pay to slay. Luke just outlined all the numbers. What are they doing with the money? Going straight into
maybe
terrorists.
Maybe you could list like, what are the things they're using the money for, listed in order of priority? Obviously, like top of the list, pay to slay, and we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep.
I think like 140 million just for 1 year. Those are all the terrorists and terrorist families that they have to pay. And if they can't pay the rest of their payroll, guess who they they'll sacrifice to make sure they pay the terrorists.
Right.
Top of the list.
Top of the list. And now, now let's look. Mahmoud Abbas is the faction head, right? He's the king mafia leader here. Mahmoud Abbas unabashedly hates Jews and desires to see Jews die, but somehow the international world still meets with him. Presidents still go and talk to him. I don't know how that happens, but that's literally what's going on here. Now, he just built a $17.5 million mansion in Ramallah. Now, this has been a few years ago, but he built his mansion there in Ramallah, and after he finished it around 2016, I believe, sometime around there, he couldn't move in because he felt like, oh man, you know what, the Palestinian mafia group here and the Palestinian people around.
Maybe he's afraid he wouldn't get reelected. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
He's already 14 years over his term limit.
No, I'm thinking he was concerned that people are really going to think he was full of himself, and that you can't just build you a $17 million house and
You're
think
talking
that
about
this was going to be cool.
50,000 square foot mansion.
Yeah,
2
incredibly
helicopter
massive.
pads. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the presidential palace.
Luke, I think most people think, they see all the media, they see the BBC, they see the CNN and all these news reports about poor, pitiful Palestinians. But I just want you to see his neighbor's house as well. We'll throw a picture up here of Mahmoud Abbas's house. But also, you got Mahmoud Abbas's house, and then his neighbor. Luke, this also got right there in Ramallah. His neighbor. This house is ridiculous. I'm telling you, I've traveled all over the world, guys. Even all over America. And America, we're a fairly wealthy nation. At least we used to be. I mean, it's still holding up pretty well. We're a fairly wealthy nation, but yet this house is by far. This is a castle, but it's right here in the middle of the Mahmoud Abbas, all these leaders, these Palestinian leaders that are building these
$17 million
crazy
mansion.
Yeah.
Where did that money come from?
Yeah, exactly. Where does this money come? Now, Mahmoud Abbas, he happened to be the head of this organization called PECTAR. It's a abbreviation for Palestinian Economic Council for Development and Reconstruction. Now, it just happens that the Palestinian Finance Ministry and PECTAR came together to build that $17 million house. Now, he's and on the PECTAR website, I went and checked it out. It said, PECTAR is accountable to the Board of Trustees, which is headed by President Mahmoud Abbas. Now, absolutely no embezzling going on there. Yeah, I would not worry about that at all. No, of course, he's just embezzling funds, and these funds are going from, nations that may think that they're actually helping with some sort of international aid and helping to build things. Again, I mentioned this, $40 billion have gone into building this idea of a two-state solution, and there's zero facts on the ground. All you got is a bunch of castles showing up. Literally, all you got is a bunch of castles showing up. That's all the proof. Jared Kushner, even Jared Kushner, noted for the world that there's no serious facts on the ground for any movement toward the global agenda of creating a two-state solution.
There's no reason, no reason to trust this government that they would actually want to do anything good for their own people.
Exactly.
Because there are good Arabs. They're talking about the store owners, going back to the beginning of the story.
Yes.
And they're the people that just want to put food on the table. But
Look, and it should be mentioned that not all the Arabs are a part of this mafia group. There's a good percentage of them that are. You got a leader, Mahmoud Abbas, and all of his guys that are in charge of this. But not all the Arabs are part of this mafia. It's just not the way it is. But the ones, the Americans and the Europeans and all these nations I just mentioned are not supporting the good Arabs. They're supporting the mafia group led by Mahmoud Abbas. That's the fact on the ground.
So now you know a little bit about who these people actually are. The media is not talking about it, but we reveal the secrets. So now you know about that. In the meantime, today, breaking news is that the U.S. ambassador to Israel, in an interview with Israeli media referring to the recent election of a very right-wing, strong conservative right-wing government here in Israel, U.S. ambassador to Israel, Thomas Nides, he said very clearly that the American administration is completely opposed to any idea of Israel annexing any parts of Judea and Samaria. Not just Judea and Samaria altogether, but any parts, even the Jordan Valley, anything, completely opposed to it. He said, quote, "The United States and most of the Arab nations oppose annexation. I want to start with a relationship with this government that is strong and enduring. I want to work closely with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I want to work closely with his government. This country is a democracy that elected a leadership, and I intend to work with them. That said, we have to stand up for the things that we believe in. That's what American values are about. We have a very strong ally in the state of Israel, but there will be times when we will articulate where we believe our differences are." And he very clearly said today that America is completely opposed to Israel annexing any parts of Judea and Samaria. Underlying message is he's obviously scared that an incoming right-wing, strong conservative government might even dare to bring up the idea of sovereignty in Israel's heartland.
Luke, what if they just got too much money in the game? Maybe that's what the guy. You've got $40 billion
playing with
inside,
American tax dollars, your tax dollars going to the pockets of sworn terrorists who have killed Israeli Jews.
That's right.
Guys, in conclusion, I pulled up like 10 articles about Ronen Hanania, may his memory be for a blessing, that was killed in a terrorist attack in Hebron a few weeks ago. Only one of them barely mentioned the story that the media refused to tell about one of the reasons that this man was killed is just so that the terrorist could have a life insurance policy for his family and his children because he knew he was terminally ill with cancer. Noah Lazar, Israeli Sergeant Noah Lazar, was killed by another terrorist. In response, Palestinian schools turned the martyr's story into a math equation, glorifying him. Another mass murderer serving 35 life sentences in Israeli prisons just celebrated by graduating with yet another master's degree in an Israeli prison. You guys heard where all the money's going to, out of your own pockets, out of the pockets, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in the United States, France, Germany, wherever it is, they're coming out of your pockets and going to these mass murderers in Israel, inside the Palestinian Authority, building $17.5 million mansions. And while all of this is going on, instead of condemning the Palestinian Authority, the U.S. ambassador to Israel made it clear that America will oppose any of Israel's efforts to annex any parts of their own territory. Judea and Samaria is Israel's territory. There's no international law that actually says that it's not, okay? And I dare you to quote it to me. Put it down in the comments below. Guys, don't forget to join in, take the Heartland Challenge by choosing to only buy certain products from Judea and Samaria, and you can do that at blessedbuisrael.com or click the link down in the description below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, get the conversation going down below. Remember to tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.